This video is an AI-based video created for entertainment purposes. All voices, conversations, and scenarios are artificially generated and do not represent the actual opinions, actions, or voices of any individuals mentioned.
Huh? What the hell? Barack, what do you want? I'm kinda in the middle of something.
Yeah, sorry to interrupt, but I wanted to ask you something, and you need to be honest with me here. Did you come up with that tier list idea just so you could glaze the Z and talk shit about the cars Joe likes? Because after some thinking, I honestly feel like that was the whole point.
Wow, are you still thinking about that? How much free time do you have on your hands to waste it thinking about a tier list we made days ago?
Just answer the question, Donald.
To be fair, I thought it would just be fun to try out. Making fun of the cars Joe likes was just a bonus for me. Why? Is he still butthurt about it?
Well, to be honest, he did go on a rant after the list was made, but that's not why I'm calling. If you got the opportunity to glaze the cars you wanted to talk about, then I want the same opportunity.
Barack, what are you talking about?
After Joe had worn himself out complaining about the list, I decided to browse TierMaker a bit and found a list with every generation of Mustang. So if you get to talk about your JDM cars, then I want to rank the Mustangs. I already spoke to Joe about it before I called, and he's on board.
Oh my God, so this is what you're pestering me about? A Mustang tier list?
I'm not asking for much, bro, but you already had the opportunity to pick a list, and all I'm asking for is to make another about the Mustangs.
Fine, I'll do it, but only because I need to hear Joe's trash takes. Invite me to a call in like 15 minutes. I got to finish up here.
Take your time. I'll probably have to call Joe a few times to wake him up anyway. Finally, you're both on. Took you long enough.
That ain't fair, man. I had a car to put back together. At least I wasn't sleeping through half the goddamn day.
I'm retired, you orange prick. I can sleep however long I want to.
Yeah, I'm going to stop this before you two waste any more time. Gentlemen, today we will be ranking the Mustang generations. In the previous list, we based a lot of the rankings on power, affordability, and aftermarket support. Those rules still apply, but we won't be considering the price to be a big factor as much due to this not being a starters list.
If that's the case, then why wouldn't the newer generations be at the top while previous ones be closer to the bottom? Price plays a big part when ranking a vehicle Obama.
The prices wouldn't be so bad if you actually fixed the economy.
Joe, you of all people do not get to talk about the economy to me. Half your presidency was spent in your bed in a damn coma.
And where is your presidency being spent? McDonald's and golf courses.
Okay, enough. Donald, the reason I don't want to focus too much on the price is because I'd rather focus on the legacy of each generation, the accomplishments and mistakes. Price will still play a part, but it won't be the biggest factor for each ranking. Just because a car is fairly new doesn't mean it's the best.
Fine, I guess that makes sense. I guess you should start us off then, since this whole list was your idea.
Gladly, up first, we have the very first generation of Mustang, released in the middle of 1964. The base model launched with a 3.3-liter inline-six with around 101 horsepower, while the GT had a 4.7-liter V8 with about 225 horsepower.
Maybe I'm getting ahead of myself here, but I'd say it's a S-tier ranking. This was the beginning of a legendary car that only got better with time.
Joe, I'm going to stop you right there. This generation is iconic, but the next entry blows it out of the water. This was a decent start to the Mustang line with some really good options, but it's definitely A tier and possibly even bottom A, considering what other generations were capable of.
That's actually a decent take from you, Donald. A tier seems acceptable for the first generation, at least for the base model and GT.
Yeah, Joe's the type of guy to put every single car in S tier. It's not fun at all.
Oh, I am so sorry. I'm not wasting everyone's time with pointless fucking complaints. Just hurry up and talk about the Mach 1.
Joe, all you do is complain. You'd go on a 3-hour rant about the Z if I allowed you to.
If you allowed me to? Motherfucker, I got all day to argue about that overrated piece of shit.
Oh my God, enough. Donald just talk about the Mach 1 before I got to suffer through another 350Z argument.
fine, whatever. Now, I won't say I'm a Mustang fan because personally I think American cars are built like shit, but the Mach 1 has something special about it. And what might that special something be, you may ask? Well, gentlemen, the Mach 1 Mustang came with the GOATed, the legendary 351 Windsor, boasting an impressive 250 horsepower and 355 pound-foot torque, not to mention the simple yet bulletproof design. I honestly wish I could shake the hands of the team who created this legend of an engine.
I did not expect you to be spitting this many goated facts today, Donald. The 351 Windsor was an amazing engine. Ford used it for many of their vehicles for about 27 years.
Yeah, I can't even deny that. Amazing engine for an amazing car. Lock this beast into S-tier Barack.
S-tier it goes. Up next, we have the...
Don't waste your time, Barack. Shove this pile of shit into D tier.
Yeah, Barack, I gotta ride the red wave here. This thing isn't worth our time. Possibly the worst Mustang on this list.
Are you guys serious? I honestly don't think it's that bad of a car. The second generation of Mustang released during an oil crisis, which made powering bigger engines a bit of a hassle.
No, dude, seriously, don't try to play defense for this piece of shit. From the underpowered engine options to the trash performance, Ford chose to spit in the face of the muscle car industry, and this was only the beginning, Barack.
Wow, you really got him tweaking out. Good job, Barry.
I didn't even do anything. I just said it's not that bad of a car.
Shut up, because I'm not done yet. These pricks unironically thought to shove a fucking inline-4 in a damn muscle car. Imagine you go to a burger joint that claims they have the best burgers in town. After ordering this so-called best burger in town, you come to find that the beef patty is extremely small, but the buns are super big. That's the second-generation Mustang, Barack. All style, but no substance or character.
Jesus Christ, Donald, chill the hell out. It's just a car, and all I said was it's not a D-tier vehicle.
You're right. Make a F-tier spot and shove this shit down there.
Yeah, I'm not as pissed off as he is, but this is definitely a D-tier car. Perhaps it's not all Ford's fault, but the circumstances that cause a lot of decisions to be made definitely impact the ranking.
Honestly, I'd say it's a C-tier. It's not perfect, but it still had a few good things going for it.
I'll allow it just so we can keep this moving, but it needs to stay at the bottom of C tier, at the very bottom, never to see the light of day again.
Yeah, you big baby, I'll keep it at the bottom.
Well, let's keep this moving. Up next, we have the third generation, otherwise known as the Fox body.
Well, let me get this off my chest and just rip the Band-Aid off. I never liked the Fox body.
Holy shit, Donald. Are you sure you weren't huffing brake cleaner again? Because I could have swore you just said you didn't like one of the most iconic Mustangs ever created.
No, you just confused me with Joe's son, but let me be clear here. I don't think the Fox body is a bad car. I just think it's a bad Mustang. When I think of the Mustang, I think of beefy V8 engines and aggressive body styles, not some small European shit that resembles an economy car rather than a muscle car.
First of all, fuck you for saying my son huffs brake cleaner. Secondly, explain yourself, because the Fox body isn't that bad of a car.
Joe, I'm positive that your son has huffed worse things than brake cleaner, but it's not like I hate the car. I'm just not a big fan of it. The design looks nothing like how a muscle car should look. I mean, compare it to the previous generations, and you can just tell whoever designed it didn't give a shit about what the Mustang was, not to mention they kept the shitty inline-4.
Donald, to be fair, you can't complain about the engine when Ford actually gave you a V8 option with the 5.0 high output.
While I will admit that bringing back the V8 was a good decision, it should have been the standard engine that the car came with. It pushed good horsepower and torque for the time. Like I said, I don't hate the car, but I do think it's one of the weaker entries in the lineup. Can you honestly say this car is equal to the first generation? Or, God forbid, any other car that makes its way to A tier?
I can settle for a B-tier entry only because later generations improved on the formula. In my opinion, the Fox body is still an iconic car. Up next is the fourth generation, also known as the SN95, my personal favorite Mustang generation.
The base model came with that 3.8-liter V6, while the 5 was only used for 2 years before being swapped out for the 4.6-liter. I am not going to lie, Barack. These engines did have some notorious problems. For instance, the head gaskets on the V6 would often leak, and the plastic valve covers would often crack.
True, but Ford did fix those issues later on. And by 1999, Ford had not only managed to handle most of those problems, but they also managed to give both the V6 and V8 a well-deserved horsepower boost. Plus, I owe it to this generation for getting me back into cars. Like I said, on the last list, I kind of lost interest in cars after my WRX Blue, but it was only when I got my 1999 Cobra that I rediscovered my passion. So I owe all of that to this particular generation.
I guess that's pretty fair. But Donald, why are you being so quiet now? Usually you're already interrupting the conversation to complain about something.
Oh, well, I guess I'm indifferent. Ford made some decent improvements with this generation, but by the time the SN95 had released, I was more interested in Japanese vehicles at the time, so I never really caught it at the peak of its hype. Although I will say it's definitely worth the top of A tier. It's not the best, but it's definitely a good car.
Top of A tier works for me, but only because the Cobra R is next, and let's be honest here, this is S tier.
Now this is what I'm talking about, baby. This is a real goddamn muscle car. Massive 5.4-liter V8 pushing 385 horsepower. This is a true muscle car.
Unfortunately, only 300 were made, but alongside the big V8, the car also came with a body kit, a Brembo brake kit, and a side exit exhaust and bucket seats, not to mention a 0 to 60 time in about 4.4 seconds.
Definitely worth the S tier rank without a doubt, but good luck finding one because I've been looking for years. But up next is the 5th generation, also known as the S197.
Honestly, I really love the design for this one. Not only did this generation go through 2 facelifts, but each one ended up looking better than the last. Not to mention, this was the generation to introduce the Coyote V8, which has been carrying this platform on its back since 2011.
True, but this generation wasn't without its own problems. The early 4.6 models had spark plug issues, and the transmissions would often go out prematurely. But the most notable problem would have been the airbags that had a tendency to throw shrapnel out when deployed.
Does it remind you of your family, Joe, riddled with problems and premature failures?
No, it actually reminds me of all your failed marriages full of problems and neglect. But hey, at least no one has ever buried their Mustang in their yard like you did with Ivana.
Holy shit, Joe. There was no need to go nuclear.
Fuck you, Joe. At least Ivana was buried in a beautiful golf course. Hunter will probably bury you in a crack house.
I'm going to end up burying both of you in a couple minutes if we don't get back to the list. Now, Joe, you have a point when talking about the mechanical problems with this generation, but this particular generation does too much to be labeled as average. Honestly, it's an A tier to me.
Definitely A tier, but the model with the Coyote should go above it. Like I said, that engine has been carrying this car on its back since 2011.
Up next is the 5th generation GT500. Honestly, this should just go into S tier because of the power output alone.
Yeah, I don't think anyone here will argue about any of the Shelbys going into S tier.
I'm going to go ahead and get this out of the way and say that the 6th generation is boring to me. So boring, in fact, that I could care less where you two decide to rank it. This was around that time when all these companies wanted to shove big-ass screens in everything, and that's just not something I'm a fan of. Not to mention there weren't many big innovations. The rear and front suspension received a decent rework, and the engines got some more horsepower.
That rework you're talking about got rid of the solid rear axle and gave the Mustang an independent rear suspension, and the double ball joint front suspension helped the car take corners more effectively.
Joe, these things still can't take corners well because that's not what a muscle car is meant for. People still manage to slam these things into crowds and curbs on a daily basis. Not to mention, this was the generation that introduced the EcoBoost, and you two already know my opinions on inline fours being in a muscle car.
I can understand Donald's gripes with this generation, but you have to admit that the improvements in this generation were positive.
Some of them were positive, but like I said, I don't care for screens, and I don't care for 4 cylinders being shoved into muscle cars. Like I said, I don't really care where you put this one.
If that's the case, then put it at the top of A tier. Taking Donald's bitching into consideration, that's probably the best place to put it.
Top of A tier is fine with me, but the GT500 goes into S tier as always. 760 horsepower is absolutely incredible to me.
So we finally made it to the current generation of Mustang, and it's all right, I guess. They've kept the stupid inline 4, included a bigger screen, and the Coyote received a power bump.
Donald, what's your problem with screens, if you don't mind me asking?
It takes away from my experience. I don't need a fancy tablet in my dash. Not to mention these things have had numerous software glitches and issues. And it doesn't just stop at Ford. Everyone made a big deal about having your phone up while driving. So what was the solution? To shove a buggy-ass screen in the car. All because a bunch of people wanted more advanced tech in their cars.
While I somewhat agree, you have to admit that some of the features they have are pretty impressive.
Majority of people don't even use half of the features. It's a fancy piece of glass that people like to brag about. So now, instead of bragging about the size of your engine, we brag about the size of our screens.
Wow. That's actually a decent argument, but I still think they can be cool at times.
To each their own, I guess. They just annoy me for the most part.
Well, issues with the screens aside, I still think this current generation is impressive. The GT still boasts good power and torque. So I think this one will be the final top of A-tier entry.
So we're finally on the last entry.
Oh, don't lie, Donald. You had some fun.
Next time, can we replace Joe with a retarded dog? They're equal in IQ, and I have a feeling the dog would give better takes.
It's like this fat fuck realized it's been 5 minutes since we've had an argument and just had to start shit again.
Okay, well, let's finish up with the Mustang Dark Horse before you two get into it again. The Dark Horse was introduced in 2022. Instead of reviving an older classic badge, Ford decided to start with a new concept, and they didn't disappoint. Boasting a massive 500 stock horsepower and paired with either a 6-speed manual or 10-speed automatic transmission.
It gets even better when you consider that the Dark Horse SC has about 795 horsepower with a 0 to 60 time in just under 3 seconds. But there is one problem I have with this car.
I bet I already know what you're going to say, but go on, Donald, just say it.
It's the price. The fucking price, Barack. It's ridiculous. The Dark Horse can go for $80,000 and the SC can go for well over $100,000.
It's the top Mustang package, bro. What the fuck did you expect? You think they'd let you have an 800 horsepower car for under 50,000?
Who on God's green earth can afford something like this, Joe? Go on and sign a 200-month loan at 25% APR for a goddamn Mustang.
Well, I'm not surprised when the majority of Americans can't even fill up their gas tank with how poorly you've handled our economy. And here you are complaining about the price of a car that you don't even want.
Speaking like the gas prices were any better during your shitty presidency.
Ain't no way you two waited till the last entry to start bitching each other out. Now if you two are done. Donald, you made a good point about the price, but this is exactly why I said that price wouldn't be a huge factor in this list. Because unfortunately prices are rising and I wanted to rank these cars at their best without having to worry about what they cost. If that was a major factor, then many of these good cars would unfortunately be in C or even D tier.
Yeah, I get it. Just put it in S tier so I can get back to what I was doing.
S tier goes, and with that we finished the Mustang Generations tier list.
Thank God, now don't expect this to be a normal thing, man. And no, Joe is not getting his own tier list ID either.
Wait, you guys forgot one.
Joe, I'm pretty sure that's just an extra image that was left on the list by accident. The last list had one too.
No, not that. You're forgetting the Mach-E. That's technically a Mustang too.
Joe, I'm coming over. I'm going to take a piss in your gas tank.